You are listening to Lovely Talks Heavy.
Hello everybody and welcome to Lovely Talks Heavy. I am your host Lovely and I discuss everything I enjoy with regard to heavy music. So for today's episode, I was gonna try and say my usual introduction in Finnish because hey, I'm learning Swedish and Sweden and Finland are neighbors, so it shouldn't be too difficult to pick out the words for two whole sentences, right? Despite my inability to wrap my tongue or my brain around the Finnish language, I wanted to put forth at least 5 seconds of effort before completely giving up, because today's episode is going to be a track-by-track review of one of my most favorite albums out there, the Arockalypse by Lordi. I've waxed poetic about this band before and gotten into the lore of Lordi, or if you will, the Lordi. I've already made that joke once before. I've also expressed major apprehension about the new album Sexorcism, which is out at the time that this podcast is out. Which is hilarious because I remember being really excited about a new Lordi album, once upon a time. But then the tracklist and the album art and the title came out. And it was supposed to be the most controversial Lordi album and never supposed to be offended, but oh my god, So for this week, before I most likely suffer through Sexorcism, I'm gonna look at something I really like by Lordi, which I've mentioned already, is the album, the Arockalypse. Of course, you might already be familiar to some degree with this band and album outside of my talking about them because of the song Hard Rock Hallelujah, which locked in a win for Finland on Eurovision in 2006. I misquoted that in an earlier episode or two, saying that it was in 2007, which is a lie, which is false, and this is what happens when you don't check your facts. It was world-shaking because it's hard to think of a hard rock song winning Eurovision. And Lordi did it in monster costumes, which can be kind of scary to normal people out there. It was also Finland's first and so far, only win on Eurovision. Maybe one day the International Talent Contest will return to Finnish ground. Maybe. But because of this win, the Arockalypse got massive record sales that have yet to be rivaled by any other Lordi album. Setting aside the homeland support that mainly boosted the band's record sales to triple platinum status in Finland, the Arockalypse is deserving of massive attention because it is top to bottom full of fun, funny, and catchy as hell songs. We're going to explore each of these songs in this track-by-track review, examine exactly why Lordi was so deserving of massive record sales for this album, and of course, rate each track. So, let's dive right in to the Arockalypse. An established rule of Lordi discography, which would later be subverted by albums like To Beast or Not to Beast, Monstereophonic, and now Sexorcism, is that each album must start with an SCG track, which stands for Scardic Circle Gathering. These tracks establish the mood for the album and usually nicely transition into the musical experience of the album. These tracks don't typically run much longer than like a minute, as they are normally something like creepy lullabies, or in the case of the second album, a mock commercial for a horror film. The SCG track for the Arockalypse is the longest out of all of these, hitting past the 3-minute mark, and it comes in the form of a breaking news report skit, and it is appropriately titled SCG-3 Special Report. The news reporter Sam Romero is reporting on a sudden mysterious monster invasion and subsequent attacks. He's in the safety of his news studio, while field reporters are out there hitting the ground and unfortunately getting caught in the monster attacks despite their own warnings to not engage with the monsters. This news report is then taken over by the leader of this monster invasion, giving us what I think is just a massively fun monologue, voiced by Dee Snider, mind you. Despite this being a 100% completely audio experience, you can absolutely imagine the horrors that are unfolding as the skit plays on, from the channel surfing in the beginning of the track to the crackly overtake of Dee Snider as the monster overlord. You can see it all happen in your head. It's almost a callback to War of the Worlds by Orson Welles. Only we know going in that it's a fake thing. Quite honestly, this is my favorite SCG track out of all of Lordi's discography. It's basically a 3-minute audio drama that I find myself just listening to on its own. I don't need to listen to this to get into the next track. I just love listening to it on its own. One of the things you're going to find me harping on in this album a lot are these little details that are in most of the songs that make them truly enjoyable or stand out in some way. And what's great about this SCG3 track is that it's no exception to this. One particular detail that I love every single time I play this track is in the beginning when the special report is being announced and the news theme plays, and the news theme is actually a version of another Lordi song, Devil is a Loser. Do 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 do.
Devil is a loser and he's my bitch. Ah?
Another is that when Sam Romero calls to another reporter, Joan Carr, he notes her location as the Hellbender Plaza, which is another reference to a Lordi song called Hellbender Turbulence. Finally, I love that this references the name of the album as Dee Snider closes out the monologue with, "This is the Arockalypse." It makes the musical experience a conceptual one without suggesting that this is a concept album, though I might just have a different view of that because I've listened to this album like 7 million times. Let's transition into the next track after giving SCG3's special report a 5 out of 5 rating. Hail in the name of rock and roll. Hail in the name of rock and roll. Hail in the name of rock and roll. Bringing back the balls to rock. This is the first truly fully musical experience of the Arockalypse, bringing back the balls to rock. It punches you in the face, transitioning over from SCG3 Special Report with intense metallic drumming thanks to Kita. It probably doesn't seem like a, quote, smooth transition, as I mentioned is the normal case with the SCG tracks. However, I think the moment between Dee Snider saying the Arockalypse and that intense drumming is quite seamless. It might not be one of the most apparent transitions, but I think it makes a lot of sense in this album. Not only does the song serve as an independent track, but it is very much an extension of the previous one. That being said, let's move away from the idea of the transition and talk about the track in itself. So I've mentioned before how Lordi's music is a love letter to classic rock and horror. This song, Bringing Back the Balls to Rock, is a quite literal love letter to the former. You start out with that intense drumming, you get heavy guitars, you get Mr. Lordi screeching out, that's a lot of work on the lungs, I'm not doing the rest of that. But anyways, you get all of this as if this band of monsters were breaking through the Earth's surface out of hell on a levitating platform, ready to spread a message like the monster overlord did a moment ago. They're fed up that the people of Earth don't appreciate hard rock and heavy metal enough. While this love of rock music is touched upon in other Lordi songs like Rock Police off of Babes for Breakfast and the riff off of To Beast or Not to Beast, this song makes sure to reference what they love so much about the genre. Quite literally, the second verse is full of references. Breathing fire, spitting blood, biting off the heads of bats and doves, dragon boots, guillotines, etc, etc, etc. If you can pick out exactly what is being referenced when listening to the song, then 10 points for you. Ultimately, overall, Bringing Back the Balls to Rock is a wonderful anthem, and you know how much I love those! That one can have fun with at a live show or in their own home. My experience is more of the latter. 5 out of 5 for Bringing Back the Balls to Rock. Can you feel the darkness crawling? Hey, can you hear the heavens roaring? The Deadite Girls Gone Wild. That's the third track off this album, The Deadite Girls Gone Wild. Am I gonna be singing a catchy hook from every single one of these songs off this album? Yeah, I am. Because I have so much fun with this album that it would be inappropriate to not do the same with a track-by-track review. This kind of song is not anything revolutionary in Lordi's discography because there is a good handful of songs about powerful, monstrous, sexy ladies in there, but that's okay because they're often quite fun. One of the best things about this song are some moments of lyricism that are just great and honestly quite hilarious. Most notably for me, she's got a body to die for. Touch it and you will, because this is just a great song. Also, the entire bridge is just a joke about the risk of losing your entire dick if you make a move on a dead-eyed girl gone wild. You wanna put it inside, you're gonna lose it to bite, she'll suck you dry. You can't not laugh. You can't. I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5 just for the fact that while I enjoy the song very, very much, it's a bit more skippable if it comes up on your shuffle. Still quite enjoyable though. Oh Lord, we play with the dead! Fourth track off this album, one of my most favorite Lordi songs ever, it's The Kids Who Want to Play with the Dead. Overall, it's a speculation with a bit of a supernatural twist on the part of the aforementioned Kids Who Want to Play with the Dead on, how did we get like this? Though I think it's a bit of a twist on this sort of relatable situation because I personally would think that they're more likely a parent or two would be running through all the moments in their head where they could have possibly failed and now their child is like this, listening to heavy metal, dressing in all black and possibly worshipping Satan, who knows. I also argue that it would touch on the PMRC thing because there are lyrics in the song that go, "It's not like we did not have a choice, backwards masking gives the devil a voice." That might ring a bell for you if you're familiar with hard rock and heavy metal history. Though if you like to reach a bit too deep into things that are probably not that deep in the first place like I do, it could serve as a story that emphasizes the importance of self-reflection, because ultimately that's what the song is. Self-reflection. My favorite moment in this whole song, and arguably this whole album, is in the second verse, when they're still running through all the possibilities, and two lines are sung out by Mr. Lordi and Kita. "There must have been some dangerous toys, and the music sings a murderous ploys." I think Kita's background vocals really add the right kind of intensity to these lines here. It's just wonderful. We also get another reference to classic rock with the mention of the band Dangerous Toys, because Lordi love their plays on words. Another thing which I think is quite understated throughout this whole album is Awa's vocals, which are probably affected to sound more synthy and more ghost-like, because that's the character she played in her time in the band. You can hear her voice in the song when the chorus hits, and it's kind of overlaid over, "We're the kids who wanna play with the dead." You have to listen closely to hear her and, get a better experience of what that sounds like. She's also heard in the pre-chorus with "the evil opens its eyes." Her voice, paired with her synth, just adds a lovely boost to the whole experience of the song. I also wanted to add that this being one of my top 5 Lordi songs and me being a very visual person, I like to imagine a music video to this, and it's a shame to me that it's one of the songs off this album that did not get the music video that it deserved. But anyways, if there were a music video to The Kids Who Want to Play with the Dead, I think it would go a little something like this. It opens up on the members of Lordi walking down a line down a hallway. Awa is floating because she's a ghost witch, and they approach this big elevator-looking thing with all their instruments inside. It's called the Hellevator. They ascend through the many layers of earth as they play their tune. Meanwhile, on the surface, we get a montage of kids through their lives who were probably quite weird growing up, and parents looking upon them with horror as they only get weirder and weirder, and these kids just really want to meet a monster, have a monster best friend, or should I say it, beast friend? An earthquake or two happens during the choruses, and even in the Hellevator, Lordi are struggling to maintain stability as they just try to play their song. Eventually, they reach up to the surface, they meet these kids, the kids are overjoyed, but then, the kids slaughter the monsters of Lordi. How you kill a ghost, I don't know, I'll get back to you on that never. Put on their skins, take their instruments, and play their way down the Hellevator. All to the absolute horror of their parents. It's a fun song, I made up a fun music video, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. I know, we've got a ballad. But here's a shocker, breaking news at 11. I really like this. It Snows in Hell is quite a tongue-in-cheek approach to the ballad. It's classic piano heavy, yes. It's quite emotional, yes. However, it's bitter, much like the cold of the snow mentioned in the song. I quite literally mentioned this a second ago, but it is a rare instance of a Lordi song having a keyboard sound like an actual piano for the majority of the song, though the synthiness does get in there during the chorus. Also a staple of the ballad is the emotional, heartfelt guitar solo, which in here is supplied by Bruce Kulick, formerly of Kiss. I've mentioned Kita's background vocals adding that perfect intensity to The Kids Who Want to Play with the Dead, and you're gonna hear me say that a lot throughout this review because Kita's vocals honestly add that perfect kind of spice to each of these songs. Especially in the case of It Snows in Hell because his voice adds the emotional intensity that is needed for a ballad. You know, the kind that makes you want to get on your knees and rip your shirt open for some reason. Speaking on the lyrical content of the song, it's quite obviously a bitter wish for revenge, vaguely alluding to how one person was unfairly punished while the other seemed to get away scot-free. However, Lordi being Lordi, there has to be a supernatural twist on it, which is found in the bridge of the song, where Mr. Lordi sings about pulling the person who he has begrudged for so long into his grave and being reborn, taking their place. Listening to the song, I think about one of my most favorite movies out there, Crimson Peak. I think about this in the point of view of the victims of the Sharp siblings, who targeted their victims, took all their money, killed them before moving on to their next target, without so much as raising so much suspicion. Until we get to Edith Cushing's story, that is. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, despite this film being out for a hot minute, I suggest you go watch it because it is a good kind of horror that doesn't rely too heavily on jump scares or gore, but don't get it twisted, those are in there. Anyways, we're talking about Lordi. And I guess since we're talking about the cinematographic arts, let's look at the music video. Which, it doesn't match the lyrical content of the song 100%, however, it does fit the emotional vibe that is in the song. We've got a woman who is being hunted down for witchcraft, I guess, because she's being chased by these men in hoods. She quickly scribbles a letter addressed to Mr. Lordi, begging for a supernatural helpful hand. Meanwhile, the band are just playing their song in the forest somewhere. The letter the lady wrote is blown out of her hand by the wind as the men catch her and tie her to stake for burning, because witchcraft, I guess. The wind magically delivers the letter to Mr. Lordi as the guitar solo kicks in, then he comes to save the woman from harm. It seems to follow the formula for most Lordi music videos, where there are regular people doing something and then the monsters take a while to reveal themselves to them. Then they reveal themselves, then they kill the people or befriend the people, or it turns out one of the people was monstrous this whole time. That's your standard Lordi music video. Anyways, it's 5 out of 5 or it snows in hell! Who's your daddy? Say, who's your daddy? Who puts you in your place? The next song is quite obviously Who's Your Daddy? It's another Lordi song of the sexual persuasion, the kind that makes you want to thrust your hips in time with the song. It's possible that Lordi were trying to recapture the vibe of this exact song and then stretch it out through all across the whole album entitled Sexorcism. Which, we'll judge that on a different day. There's no need to elaborate as much on the song as I have in the previous one so far, but I will mention the one thing that I absolutely love about this sex anthem and many others on this album, it's Keats' backing vocals. So rarely would I think one would be motivated to listen to a song just for the backing vocals, but honestly, that's the position I find myself in, don't laugh, when I get the craving to listen to Who's Your Daddy. It's an all-around fun song, but Keats' vocals really sell it for me. This is another song with a music video, which again is kind of different from the subject matter. We start with a lone couple in a skating rink. The girl leaves the dude alone for like a second, then Lordi pop up out of nowhere. The dude gets tied up, but it's not like in a kinky way, but rather in a, you're gonna hear us play our song, damn it, kind of way. The intent might have very well been kinky, but it's like, it doesn't read like that to me. Anyways, some scantily clad dancers come up and dance as Lordi play their tune. During the bridge, it's just another repetition of the very repetitious chorus, only it's whispered by Mr. Lordi and it's underlined mainly by Awa's haunting synth. The dancers kind of touch up and down on Mr. L. We hit the guitar solo, the dancers do the same thing with Amen as his guitar shoots fireworks and a definite joke about ejaculation. And honestly, that's the most sexual this entire music video gets. The band continue their tune, the dancers taunt the dude still tied up, and then it closes out on the dancers eating the man alive with fanged jaws. The music video isn't my favoriteest thing ever, but regardless, Who's Your Daddy gets a 5 out of 5. For once, I'm not gonna sing a catchy hook or whatever from this song because I'm having a hard time deciding which one I should sing. But we're here, the Eurovision Song Contest winner, a staple of every playlist full of hard rock power anthems, the driver of the Arockalypse's album sales, and possibly the bringer of the budget for more than 2 music videos on a singular Lordi album. I'm talking about Hard Rock Hallelujah! Hard Rock Hallelujah! Okay, I lied, I did sing one, but go ahead and sue me. I've already talked a lot about Lordi's relationship with Eurovision, so I'm not gonna bring it up anymore, hopefully maybe on the song section of this track-by-track review. It's quite difficult to bring to words how good Hard Rock Hallelujah is. Is it perhaps the closest one gets to feeling a religious experience while listening to Lordi? Maybe. I think perhaps it is also one of those songs which is quite universal. Not everybody's gonna like Lordi, of course, but I think perhaps everybody could love Hard Rock Hallelujah. It's of course that moment in a Lordi live show that everybody waits so desperately for. You get to the organ-sounding keyboards which open it up in a haunting way, and that part is slowed down to just draw out the experience a bit longer for the people in the audience. Then there's the moment within that moment that everybody's really itching for, and it's in the bridge of the song, when Mr. Lordi sings in a bit of a hushed tone. Wings on my back, I got horns on my head. My fangs are sharp and my eyes are red. Not quite an angel, the one that fell. Now choose to join us or go straight to hell. And as he sings all of that, there are wings on his back which spread wide open, and he lifts up his prop battle axe to really sell the power anthem that is this song. And when you see that happen in front of you in a live show, you feel like you're reliving the moment that, and excuse my broken promise here, sold the win for Eurovision. What else can I say? Well, I should bring up Awa's vocals, which are made to sound synthy and haunting to boost the chorus that much more. There's also the music video, which, for something that won Eurovision, you'd think there'd be a much better music video, right? Even as a teenager watching this music video for the first time on Music Choice On Demand, the music video felt kind of underwhelming for me. It's from the point of view of this girl in high school who's quite obviously a huge Lordi fan. There's kind of a bullying subplot or something in this video because the other teens are giving her weird glances and some cheerleaders carelessly push her aside to get to cheer practice. She inwardly clings to her love of Lordi just to make it through the day, it seems, which is relatable in a sense. Despite getting shoved, she continues to watch the cheer practice. Then Mr. Lordi appears in the gymnasium, and with a wave of his hands, the cheerleaders fall unconscious, and it's quite terrifying for everybody involved. The rest of Lordi show up and play their classic jam to their only fan in the school. The cheerleaders rise up again, but dude, they've got zombie faces, scary! Then the Lordi girl leads the zombie cheerleaders to go eat all the kids who made weird glares at her in the school. And that's it! This music video aside, Hard Rock Hallelujah has left quite an imprint on the world around. It's a 5 out of 5. They are the tricky trolls, they got the bell that tolls, flash at the edge of my sight, they only come out at night, is the midpoint of the Arockalypse. I know, I've been going this long and we're only halfway there! Halfway there! Halfway there! Let's look at some specs on this song, shall we? It's the 8th track on this album. Song length is 3 minutes 50 seconds. Writing credit goes to Mr. Lordi and Eamon. That's not unusual on a Lordi song. Oh, I see we have a feature on the song. Who could it be but, Udo Dirkschneider, formerly of Accept, currently of UDO, joining Mr. Lordi on vocals for this song. They take turns singing lyrics in the verses describing a fear of the dark by Iron Maiden-esque fear, but that paranoia is quite legitimate because there are monsters lurking about, and they only come out at night. Stacked on top of that, we have some 80s ass synth provided by Awa, who also and again adds a haunting boost in the chorus with her vocals, where Kita, Mr. L, and Mr. D sing, "They only come out at night." She echoes that in a more drawn out and haunting way, "They only come out at night." I seriously cannot do her vocals justice. It's quite beautiful in the song, though. Anyways, that chorus is just a loop of Kita, Mr. L, and Mr. D singing there, "They only come out at night," then Awa echoing that in her haunting voice until the next verse hits. Another of my favorite moments on this album is just in the last minute of this song. Because while the last minute and a half is just essentially repeating the very singularly lyric chorus till the end, what I love is that after singing through one batch of chorus, Mr. Lordi lets out this yell that's just kind of in the background. And then his part of the chorus just gets a bit more chaotic with each repetition, "They only come out at night," as the song fades out. You have to listen a bit closely, but once you hear it, you have a lot of fun with it. Quite honestly, I just look forward to this part every time, because once you hit a certain point, Mr. Lordi is just kind of reduced to yelling, and it's funny and beautiful. Then the music just completely fades out, and we get a bit of what we will call an audio skit, because we hear the sounds of a shower going a la Hitchcock's Psycho, but instead of stab 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 chocolate syrup down the drain, we hear the roar of a chainsaw, which transitions us into the next track, Chainsaw Buffet. So let's go ahead and head on over to that track, but first, 5 out of 5 for They Only Come Out at Night. You're my main course at the Chainsaw Buffet. Feed on man-eater's cuisine at the Chainsaw Buffet. Track 9, let's do this. I must call attention again to the transition, which brings us from the previous track into this one. You know how much I love this technique. We already got one of these in the album, and Lordi gave me 2 of them. It must be my birthday. Let's state the obvious, it's a song about cannibalism. You're at a place called the Chainsaw Buffet, and it's quite likely you're gonna be the next meal. Oh, does anybody remember that part in the Walking Dead video game? Like, honestly, it's as soon as I realized, I'm like, oh my god, let's get out of there, please, I want out, I don't want to get in! What I love about this song is that you have Eamon's guitar and Awa's synth sounding like the rotation of a chainsaw blade. It's kind of subtle, but kind of not. It's possibly a reference to The Lumberjack by Jackal, where an actual literal chainsaw was used for an instrument, but that might be just me reaching my tiny little gay arms to connect a few dots which are probably just so far away from each other. Also, wordplay is rampant through the song, but hey, it fucking works. Steaks a la carte, mama makes from the heart. Pa's such a gourmet for gore. Jam eyes, bleeding herbs, banquet dining is worth dying for. This is hilarious and beautiful. This is hilarious and beautiful. Never in my time as a young child would I ever imagine a song about cannibalism being something that would bring me joy and laughter. Finally, to add that boost that makes me love this song is, of course, Kita's hand in this. Not often do I call attention to his drumming in this album, which he does spectacularly in adding that underlying heartbeat of each of these songs. However, when we reach the bridge, which is just a more chanted version of the chorus, we get a simple pounding on the skins from him, which adds wonderfully to it in my opinion. And of course, his vocals punching up the lyrical delivery, which he adds more intensity to once we get to the final round of the chorus. Just like with Who's Your Daddy, I just find myself listening to the song just for Kita's background vocals. I absolutely love it. 5 out of 5 for Chainsaw Buffet, though probably it has a lower rating on Yelp because people probably don't like an establishment that would try to serve them as the main dish. I'm not a funny joke boy like John Mulaney, okay? All the naughty Lordi girls, they know it's good to be bad. Here we are at what I consider to be the lowest point of the Arockalypse, which is still quite a compliment to the album because Good to Be Bad is still quite enjoyable. What do we love? There's that 80s ass synth again that's almost reminiscent of Jump by Van Halen. We have Kita's vocals, we have Awa's vocals, we have the self-referential line Naughty Lordi girls, which suggests that if Lordi were actual monsters, then their groupies would be something like what the song describes. I'm giving this song a 3 out of 5 because while I have a lot of fun with it, it's a more skippable song. And if there were any fat to trim on this record, it would be Good to Be Bad. Be quick by loving, my body's cold, I take you in my coffin, where you can kiss my bones on the night of the loving dead. It's quite evidently a play on words, Night of the Living Dead. But you know, instead of monsters trying to like kill you or eat you or something, they're trying to seduce you. It sets this mood perfectly with a groovy ass guitar, supplemented with water droplets of synth sounds. Then Mr. Lordi sings about undead Casanovas hunting for love. Quite simply, we have more dick jokes in this record. On this song specifically. It's in the pre-chorus that I sang as we got into this part of the track by track. I take you in my coffin where you can kiss my bones. Also, it's in the bridge. 6 feet underground. If I had a heart, you would make it pound. You make the dead come alive. You make the dead come alive, if you know what I mean. I mean, I might be reaching here, but like, hey, when you think of the dead coming alive, the typical image of a stiff body rising up is what comes to mind. Okay, I'll stop. I mean, that's all I have to say on the song, really. It's a great song. It's a 5 out of 5. I'm pretty sure that if you're a band who has hit commercial success at some point, you're contractually obligated to have an anthem all about being yourself and letting your freak flag fly or something so the teenagers can flock to you and tell you how you changed their lives. That is so cynical of me, and I of all people am one to talk here. Does the name 3 Days Grace ring any bells for anybody? Ugh. Regardless, that's what this song is for Lordi. Super Monstars, the anthem of the Phantom. I am personally in no need for this kind of song anymore, though. That may be a lie, who knows? It's so weird that I'm approaching a song with a literal word anthem in the title like this. I mean, it's no negative bearing on Lordi for my attitude towards a song like this, because I'm sure there's people out there that are inspired by these types of cheesy anthems. I guess for me, it just falls a bit flat next to songs like Bringing Back the Balls to Rock, where in that song, it's in your face and unapologetic in its approach and attitude, where the anthem of the Phantom is saying with mostly words and little attitude to be yourself. It's still a fun song, don't get me wrong, and I absolutely would be into it at a live show, singing along and such, because Lordi tried to do something at least a little bit fun or visual with each song in a show. And in the case of this one, Mr. Lordi puts on a leather mask over his mask, puts on a bloody apron, and carries a fake circular saw around. I'm not sure how exactly that fits in a song called Super Monstars, but hey. I'm not gonna say this is fat that needs to be trimmed off this record, however, I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5. Would you love a monster man? Could you understand the beauty of the beast? Here we have the updated version of Would You Love a Monster Man, which appeared first on Lordi's 2002 release Get Heavy, which featured a lineup of the band that was a bit different from the one we see for the Arockalypse. There's no real noticeable differences in the two versions, and I suppose if you were forced at knife point to pick a favorite version of Would You Love a Monster Man, it would come down to which keyboardist is your favorite, NRE or Awa, though I guess there's also 2 different music videos for each version too, so it could also come down to that. This is, next to Hard Rock Hallelujah and Devil is a Loser, one of Lordi's most popular songs. It is literally the last song in most Lordi live shows that everybody just absolutely loves and anticipates and has fun with when that confetti bursts and Mr. Lordi lifts up that doll to the heavens. I've spoken on the music video of this version before, and I'll just quickly rehash it here. Honestly, I think it's one of the best, if not the best, music video to come out of Lordi. Because while usually you have Lordi playing their song forcefully at a person or people in some context, they actually make use of their monster personas in the story of this music video. They scare a small group of morgue workers while also trying to seduce one of them. Of course, yes, they do play the song at the girl they're trying to seduce, but this feels like a moment that was built up to and therefore feels more purposeful. And by the end, the girl goes wide-eyed, revealing that either she was a monster the whole time or just got turned into one through the power of song. That's all I really have on the song. 5 out of 5. If you see me, better flee me. If you hear me, better fear me. That's the best part, combined with the chorus of this song, Mr. Killjoy. Na 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 na, call me Mr. Killjoy. I'm the death of every party. Na 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 na, call me Mr. Killjoy. And I don't care if you don't like me. It's Definitely a good descriptor of that person at work or in an online forum that you can't unfortunately report because technically they didn't do anything wrong, but still, they're so annoying with how they are. It's definitely about that guy that makes you activate your inner death metal Retsuko. It's a very fun song that you can absolutely sing along to, especially at a live show. However, it's nothing to personally identify with. 4 out of 5 for this one. Hey guys, guess what? Lean in real close, okay? I got something to tell you. We're at the end of this album. That's right! We're rounding out to the end with another of my top Lordi songs, Evil Love. It's a song that basically is trying to accomplish the same thing as Would You Love a Monster Man, but somehow cheesier, which in my opinion isn't a bad thing. It's a tender love story with some aesthetically ugly and gruesome parts weaved in there as well. You've got lyrics like, "A night in Paris with candles, ended up in flames, and Cupid's arrow mangled your pretty face." I just think it's a fun, beautiful interplay of these ideas that one might typically think of as disparate. I think it's quite obvious at this point that with one of my favorite songs comes my favorite part in the song, the bridge where Kita and Awa sing the chorus without Mr. Rel, while Kita alternates between hitting his toms and softly tapping a cymbal, while Amen hits the singular notes that brought us into the song in the first place. It's just beautiful. And for once in the album, they're at the front, even if it happens to be at the end of the album. Overall, Evil Love gets a 5 out of 5 because I've looped the song for literal hours because I love it that much! Overall, the Arockalypse is a wonderful album deserving of the attention it got and more, because it's top to bottom filled with anthems, anthems plus a ballad and an audio skit, but they're really good so they can sit at the table. All of these songs are really good in their own right, even if there are a couple that I personally am not the biggest fan of. There are details found in each song or audio skit that make them pleasurable listening experiences, the main two that I harp on being Kita's backing vocals and Awa's backing vocals. These are a couple of reasons why I personally listen to this particular record over and over and over again within the halls of my school walking between classes. Now, one thing I didn't touch on, unfortunately, but should bring up is the fact that there was a lineup change just before the album came out. And I'm not just talking about the fact that Awa replaced Enery as the keyboardist, I'm specifically pointing out that former bassist Kalma left the group just before they had entered the Eurovision Finnish qualifier. Damn, son. He stuck around long enough to record the bass for this album, but it's the current bassist Ox we see on the cover. I also want to touch again on the fact that I love Kita's vocals so much on this album, and if you find yourself loving them as much as I do, well, the good news is that the man has a band called Stala and So, which, due to his pursuits of that band, got him fired for Lordi. Ouch. But it's something you might enjoy too. So these are my thoughts re the Arockalypse by Lordi. I had a lot of fun revisiting this album, which I love, even though track-by-track reviews, and this one in particular, took a lot out of me. What are your thoughts on this album, if any? Do you agree with any or all or none of my sentiments? Let me know on social media. On Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube, I am LovelyMetalhead. Hit me up there and tell your friend to follow me as well. Be sure to also share the show with a friend, link them this episode, and tell them to support your local podcaster. But until next week, next Saturday, the next episode of Lovely Talks Heavy, you stay brutal, my friends. Bye.